in time. But of course, we do have most of our student population coming from, that are domestic to the United States, excuse me. So on this map here, it shows the darker the shade of red, the more students are coming from that state. So you can see Nevada, California, and Hawaii are our biggest states. But of course, we do have students coming from all 50 states, and they are enrolled at any time as well. In terms of majors, we have over 300 different undergraduate and graduate majors. For anybody, I think most of you are going to be undergraduate students or incoming undergraduate students, but we have over 150 different undergraduate degrees alone. So there's a lot to choose from within all of our different colleges that we have on campus, which you can see on this page here. We also have 3 different professional schools for anybody who's interested in going to dental school, medical school, or law school. Also, to enhance your undergraduate experience, we have an honors college school for anybody who's interested in taking that extra challenge. So to start off with school business, I obviously can't go into too much detail with every single college we have just because time constraints and there's a lot of major and stuff like that. So to start off with business, they have really strong programs, really hands-on experiences, a big focus of theirs. So you can start off in pre-business, get your prerequisites out of the way, and then you can start going into economics, finance, entrepreneurship, administration, any of the majors that we have in business. After that, for the College of Education, so they have majors such as secondary education, elementary education, special education, just to name a few. They also have the opportunity to allow you to essentially graduate with your teaching license, as soon as you complete your degree, instead of spending some time and money after you already graduate to try and get that done. So you're pretty much ready and set to work as soon as you finish your degree. For engineering, they have majors such as mechanical engineering, both computer science and computer engineering. They have construction management in there as well, electrical engineering, and a few others. For the College of Fine Arts, they have majors that you would expect to find in any College of Fine Arts, such as art history, a lot of music majors as well. We have an architecture program within the College of Fine Arts, and we also have a dance program that's actually top 10 in the country for anybody who's interested. For the College of Health Sciences, we have programs such as kinesiology, athletic training, and pre-nursing for anybody who's interested in going into nursing. Let's see, for the Honors College, I'll touch base on in the next slide. For College of Hospitality, that one is probably the one that is best known. It is the #1 program in the entire country, and it is ranked #2 in the world. So we see a lot of students coming from literally all over just to come to the College of Hospitality, excuse me. And of course, being in Las Vegas, we're kind of experts in that sense. And the Strip is very close to campus. It's about a mile from campus. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for anybody who's interested. For the College of Liberal Arts, they have majors such as psychology, sociology, English, and a lot of others. For the College of Sciences, they have majors such as chemistry, biochemistry, biology, environmental sciences, etc. And lastly, for the College of Urban Affairs, you can find majors such as communications, journalism, criminal justice, social work, and a ton of others as well. All right, so for the professional schools that we have on campus, we have the only dental school accredited dental school anyways, in the entire state of Nevada. So the dental and medical school are actually located off campus, about 15, 20 minutes away from campus, not very far. The medical school is fairly new, so it's only about 3 years old, opened in June, I believe, 3 years ago. So the first medical school class hasn't graduated yet. They are set to graduate in 2021. So that's really exciting. They have some plans to build on the medical center and build a completely new building and stuff. So a lot of really exciting things that come with now having the School of Medicine. And they're very affordable for a medical school. They have a lot of scholarship opportunities. So if you're someone who's interested in going into medicine, I would definitely encourage you to check that out as you're progressing through your undergraduate degree. And lastly, for the last professional school that we have is the law school. So the law school is the only professional school that's located right on campus. And it is a really, really excellent law school as well. It's top 60 in the nation. They have a legal writing program that's actually top 10. So definitely something to consider if you're interested in going into law. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Eduardo, our student panelist. Eduardo, if you want to go into a little bit more detail about your hospitality major and what you do, anything else that you want to add.
Yeah, definitely. So, as I mentioned, I'm doing hospitality, and actually, as a freshman, I actually came into UNLV not knowing what I wanted to major in, and we just refer to that as exploring majors. So, if you come in like as an undeclared student, it's completely fine. I see that a lot of people actually come in like that during their first year. So, it took me around like I think 2 years to really figure it out and declare. I just actually declared this past semester. So, yeah, I ended up declaring hospitality. My advisor really helped me out in terms of like figuring out what I wanted to major in. I would go see her, I think like at least like 3 times a semester, and then we just like kind of go over like all the majors and like all the opportunities that came with the major and things like that. So once we reached hospitality, I found that it interested me a lot. So I decided to take the introduction class for it, and I ended up really enjoying it. So I just barely declared this past semester, and I'm about to take several hospitality courses this coming semester. Um, as far as like as far as like the actual program itself, though, was hospitality. There really is one key thing that I always like to point out to any like potential student, and that's that with the program itself, you do have to complete 1,000 hours of work experience throughout your 4 years in college. So that is just something to keep in mind and something you will have to work up to. And it does have to be in several different areas. It can't just be in the same job. For example, for me, I'm currently working as a tour guide, and that falls under customer service. But eventually, I do need to head out to a different job that relates to like something else. Like for example, food and beverages. I could work like at a cafe or a restaurant to gain experience in those type of areas. So just something to keep in mind if you're interested in hospitality. One final thing that I'll mention about it is that we actually got our own building around 2 years ago now. So the hospitality building is the newest building on UNLV's campus. So even if you're not a hospitality student, you can go in there. It's a pretty nice building. I'd highly recommend you guys check it out.
Awesome, thank you, Eduardo. And something before I forget too, for anybody who is here in town, I know right now we're not doing any in-person tours, but of course campus is open. If you want to just go walk around, we typically have self-guided tour brochures near our office of admissions, or actually at the office of admissions right outside. So if you're someone who lives in town and you're curious about campus, you've never been to campus, you're definitely more than welcome to come to campus any day and walk around. And you can't get into the buildings, but at the very least, you can just walk around campus and see the buildings and everything else. Okay, so for the Honors College, if you're someone who's interested in joining the Honors College, that is an extra challenge while you're going through college in terms of academic expectations. So with the Honors College, they do have some not necessarily requirements, but they have averages of the incoming class that, averages of the incoming class. So you're usually have to be around the GPA, average GPA or average test scores. But of course, if you feel like you are a strong student, I would definitely encourage you to apply regardless, just to apply. You're able to submit letters of recommendation and essays as well. So it's more of a holistic overview of who you are as a student, not necessarily just your GPA or just your test scores. So priority deadline is November 1. What this means is it's for scholarship consideration. So with scholarship consideration, they have different scholarships. I don't know the details of the scholarships just because it's not directly through our Office of Admissions. It's through the Honors College. They do have their own admissions recruiter as well, but we work hand in hand. And then they do take applications even after November 1. It's a year-round application process, so you're more than welcome to keep applying if you're waiting to either retake the ACT or the SAT, or if you're waiting to boost up your GPA after the semester or anything like that, you're definitely able to continue applying. They're still definitely taking students throughout the entire year. That deadline that you see on your screen is just for scholarship consideration. For the averages, excuse me. So for the averages of the incoming class, they usually look for around a 3.7 unweighted high school GPA, a 27 on the ACT, or if you took the SAT, they usually look for around a 1300. So again, if you fall within the range of those averages, or again, like I said, if you feel that you're a strong student regardless, I would definitely encourage you to apply. It's a free application. You do have to submit the UNLV general admissions application first, whether through the Common App or through our website is fine. And then afterwards, once you get your UNLV student ID, you'll be able to submit the Honors College application as well. All right, so for study abroad, a really cool thing with that is that you're actually able to essentially pay your UNLV tuition that you're going to be paying here once you start off as a student will remain the same, no matter which program you choose to study abroad. When that becomes, right now it's paused for the semester, but I'm assuming students who are logged on right now are inquiring about future semesters. But for study abroad, again, any financial aid that you receive, scholarships, loans, anything that's applied to your UNLV tuition will remain the same for wherever you study abroad. Really, any variable costs will have to do with housing, meals, any extra expenses that you're potentially going to be covering as well. And then there's a lot more information, of course, on our website. So I would definitely encourage you to go check that out if you're someone who's interested in eventually studying abroad. Most students do end up studying abroad their second or third year of college, just because it's in between. You're not brand new, but you're also not about to graduate. So those are really the popular ones, and they do have different programs. Sometimes they have short, like spring break study abroad opportunities. They also have some summer study abroad opportunities. Most commonly, students do a semester-long study abroad program, and you can also, a lot of students have actually extended that for a full year, whether in the same place or if you choose a different country as well. So a lot of opportunities there. For unique programs, one that's talked about is the Entertainment Engineering Design program. It's an engineering degree for students who are in so designing sets for show, of the show, light design, technology, anything like that. And there's so many possibilities with this major. Designer. So there's a lot of really, really cool things that you could do. For renowned research, you're a huge research institute, a lot of research projects pretty much in every single field, every single subject that you can imagine. One of the most popular ones that we have, though, is Haley's Hand. So Haley's a little girl that you see in that picture. She's about 10 years old now. She has been working with UNLV's College of Engineering for the last 6 years, since she was 4 years old. She was born with what is called Poland syndrome. So when she was born, her hand wasn't fully developed. She was missing her middle three fingers. She had a very short thumb, very short pinky, so she wasn't able to use her hand the way that most of us can. So her family reached out to UNLV's College of Engineering to see what their options could be, just because regular prosthetic hands are very, very expensive, and she, as she's growing up, she needs them quite often, a new one quite often. So engineering has been working with her for the past 6 years, and they have been using a 3D printer to literally print a prosthetic hand for her anytime she needs one. And I think the coolest thing about this research project is all the opportunities that Haley has had. So she completed what she called her journey to 30, and that was in September of 2018. She became the first person at only 8 years old at the time. She became the first person to throw the first pitch at all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums in the entire country. So she made headline news. It was a big story. We have a lot of articles on our website as well. We have a lot more information about that on our website as well. But it's a really, really cool story that we're all able to be a part of. And the engineering students on that project actually would print and design a new prosthetic hand for her. For each team she'd go visit. So she has the team colors, and she could get her favorite player signatures and other stuff like that. So definitely really, really cool story. And lastly on the screen for internships are not always required. It really does depend on your major, but it is something that I always encourage students to seek out if they have the time, if they have the ability to, because they give you a really good insight into the potential field that you're going to be working in, potential job that you're going to be working in, type of company, anything like that. It just gives you a really, really good insight. And of course, it adds some really good experience to your resume as well. So you're graduating already with some work experience. So definitely really helpful. Okay, so for traditions, we have every year what we call UNLV Premiere. Of course, this year, I don't know what the details are, but of course, we're not having any in-person events on campus this semester. But in the past, UNLV tradition is, like I said, UNLV Premiere, excuse me, is essentially just a big celebration of the new academic year. It happened every second week, third week of school, I believe, and it was really great for new students, anybody who wanted to make any friends or just kind of check out the the first event of the year, essentially. Um, there are a lot of activities. There's a lot of food there as well. But the actual traditional part of the event is at the end of the night, they have all the students form into the letters UNLV, and they'll give them something that lights up to hold in their hand so that once it gets dark enough, they'll all form into the letters and they'll take an aerial picture of that. And that's the longest running tradition at UNLV. For clubs and organizations, we have over 400 different clubs that you could be a part of. These range from academic clubs to just for fun clubs. There's a ton. There's an unending list of different clubs that we have on campus. We do have a whole list actually of the clubs that we have on our website. So if you're interested in looking through that, just kind of seeing what you're going to be able to join, definitely encourage you to do that. Every semester we do have an involvement fair. I believe this year it's going to be virtual. So the involvement fair is essentially where all the clubs are kind of just standing by and they're able to give you any information. You're able to talk to them about what their club is about, how to join, anything like that. For organizations, we do have Greek life on campus. So we have over 20 different sororities and fraternities combined, of course. We have social fraternities and sororities. We have academic ones. We have multicultural ones. We also have more philanthropic-based Greek organizations. So there's variety of the type of organizations, Greek organizations that you can choose to join if you want to. And of course, we also have our student government, and we also have our Rebel Events Board that you can take more leadership type roles if you're interested in that. And then for athletics, we are a Division I institution, excuse me. So students in the past have been able to get free discounted tickets to all the home games that we have, some away games as well, of course. But it's a really, really cool deal, especially if you're someone who's really interested in college sports. And now with the Raiders Stadium being done, whenever the football team starts playing again, they are set to start playing all of their home games at the Raiders Stadium instead of our old Sam Boyd Stadium. So I think that's probably one of the most exciting things that we have coming up as well. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Eduardo. Or do you want to talk about your own personal experience on campus? Anything that you want to add? Any events that stand out? Anything like that?
Yeah, I think UNLV Premiere stands out. When you were talking about, it's definitely my favorite event just because it was actually the first one that I attended when I came to UNLV. I didn't actually know anybody when I first came here. Most of my school friends ended up going to different colleges or just doing something completely different. So I decided just to attend the event just because I heard how popular it was, and I was interested in trying to meet new people. So definitely been a lot of new people there. It's kind of like our open day, a lot of students there, and there's a lot of older students there as well. You also do notice the diversity there as well. These are diverse campus. You see a lot of people that are not only just out of the state, but also out of the country as well. So I definitely made a few friends that were actually international, that came internationally. So that was cool. So it's definitely one of the events that I'd recommend any student just check out. It's a lot of fun. Aside from that, they also have games, music, and all that. And then that aerial photo at the end is really a memorable moment. So definitely an event that I'd recommend to any student. But I mean, we do have several other traditions that go on throughout the semester. So if you can't make that one, or if you didn't like that one, we do have several other ones you guys could try attending. Aside from that, though, I'm not involved in any clubs or organizations, but I can't talk about athletics. The games are super fun to attend, and I'm personally really looking forward to that shift into the Raiders Stadium once it's completed. Just because I've actually never attended an actual stadium before, so it's gonna be really exciting are really exciting to go there for free since we do get the tickets for free. And usually I do invite like friends or family to like those games just because we get them discounted or we can get them at a discounted price for like family members. So that's always a positive as well. So yeah, I'd recommend checking out the athletics and traditions. They're really exciting.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Eduardo. All right, so since we're not able to see or tell if you are coming from Las Vegas or not, we do have a slide dedicated to just other things that you could do in Las Vegas. I know when you first think of Las Vegas, you automatically think of the Las Vegas Strip and how there's nothing else, which, before I moved here, I thought the exact same thing. Because I'm originally from the Midwest, so it's very, very different. But we do have a ton of other things going on. So we have a lot of cultural music festivals that were happening at least, before everything, the whole Corona thing started happening. So those are pretty much, so many concerts, pretty much every single night. So a lot of food festivals as well, music festivals, which I'm sure most of you have heard of, but like UBC, Life is Beautiful, a bunch of new music festivals that started last year too. So pretty exciting city in that way. Hoover Dam is really cool. If you've never been to see it, you can just drive up there. You can take a helicopter tour. You can also do a boat tour from below from Lake Mead. And Lake Mead is a recreational man-made lake that we have about 45 minutes away from campus. And it's really great if you're just looking to cool down in the summer or if you're looking to take a jet ski or boat or anything like that. Of course, we have the Las Vegas Strip. We have Mount Charleston, which is probably one of my favorites here. So in the summer, it's a lot cooler than it is here in the valley, which isn't really saying much because it's really hot here. But there's a lot of hiking trails. It's first pretty fun to go check it out. And in the winter, it snows up there and everything. There's a ski lodge up there. There's a restaurant that's supposed to be really good as well. So our student recreation center actually rents out skiing and snowboarding equipment that you can rent to take anywhere pretty much. It doesn't have to be Mount Charleston. Mount Charleston is just the closest one that we have, the closest ski lodge that we have. For Red Rock is a national park that we have about 40 minutes away from campus. And it's really, really beautiful. I would definitely encourage anybody who's interested in, just hiking or biking, or even if you're just interested in doing a scenic drive, Red Rock is definitely one of my recommendations. For the Smith Center has a lot of different productions like Hamilton, The Lion King have performed there, among many others, of course. They do have some really great connections with our College of Fine Arts if you are someone who's interested in going into the fine arts. And then lastly on the list, we have Springs Preserve, which is an indoor/outdoor museum about Nevada history and other things like that. It's about 20 minutes from campus. So campus, as you can tell, is pretty central to a lot of different activities, different places that we have in the city. And we actually have a smart home on display at the Springs Preserve Museum. So the smart home on display was actually designed by our business, architecture, and engineering students for an international solar decathlon competition a few years back. And then on your screen as well, you can also see the sports teams that we have, which is pretty interesting because I moved here about 9 years ago and been living here off and on. So it's pretty crazy to see that we now have a sports industry here. We have our beloved Vegas Golden Knights hockey team. We have our soccer team, the Las Vegas Lights. We have our WNBA team, the Aces. We have our Raiders now. And then we have our baseball team, the Las Vegas Aviators as well. All right, so I won't go through each of the support services because it is a long list. They all have a lot of information about them. So if you are interested in any of these, definitely look it up on our website, or if you have any questions, we may be able to answer them now as well. Just to name a few, we have the Academic Success Center, which offers free tutoring for any class that you're enrolled in, pretty much in any topic, any subject that you need help in, they're there. For career services, they have some really, really great resources that I encourage every single student, whether you're new or you're about to graduate, I always recommend to take advantage of the Career Services Center. They can help with your resume, they can help with your cover letter, they can even help you do a mock interview if you're nervous or if you're going into a mock interview, or if you just want to improve on that for whenever you do have an interview coming up for a job or anything like that. Let's see. Oh, and also, if anybody's interested in on-campus jobs, our career services has teamed up with it's called Handshake. So you are able to look for on-campus jobs, and that service actually also allows you to see just jobs in general, not necessarily student jobs on campus, but just, if you're about to graduate, you're able to see job postings on there as well. We have our own very own police services on campus, so they are just dedicated to our campus, making sure that everything is okay and safe, and for every student that walks through here. So if you've ever been to our campus, you may have seen them just roaming around in their cars or anything like that as well. For the residential life, we have sorry, sorry. For the residential life, we have our dormitories. So uh, we have dormitories on campus, and we also have student apartments as well that you could rent out. If you are from, I'll talk about housing in a little bit as well, but if you are from Las Vegas, you don't necessarily have to live on campus, but it is an option if you'd like to. If you're coming from outside of Las Vegas, then you do have to live on campus your first year, but after that, you can either choose to remain on campus, or you could live off campus or in the student apartments as well. Oh, and actually, Eduardo, if you want to go ahead and talk about any services that you use.
Yeah, I'll talk about two of them real quick. One of them is the writing center. It's basically what it sounds like. You take any like paper there that maybe you need like help revising or fixing. Personally, I would go there anytime I had like a, let's say, like an English paper due. I usually go there like 2 to 3 days beforehand. And at the writing center, they're really good at like catching like any like grammar mistakes or anything like that, making sure that's on point. And then they also do just make sure that the paper makes sense. And like they kind of point out like any maybe like awkward sentences that you might have that you could like fix to make the paper better. So it's a really great place for anybody that struggles with writing. That's personally one of my weaknesses. So I definitely spent a lot of time using the writing center. So and it did really help me out. And the rest of my grades started going up in English once I started utilizing the writing center. So definitely a resource I'd recommend. And aside from that, the last one that I'll mention is the library services. The library actually does offer free tutoring on our second floor. So usually I'd go there for like any like math course that I'd take, because that's also another subject that I tend to struggle in. And then with the tutors, they're personally, I think they're really good at like helping like you like figure out what you're doing wrong and then how to get to like the correct answer solution. Usually every time I'd attend tutoring, I'd always like leave learning something new. So it definitely is a great use of time in case you're struggling in any course. And they do offer like several other courses. It's not just math, obviously. If you need help with like a bio class, any like science class, you could definitely check out the tutoring, and they really are helpful. So I'd recommend checking it out, especially like before, let's say like final exams, just to make sure that you're like on top of like everything. But yeah.
Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, so there we go. All right, so for housing, as I mentioned, students who are from Las Vegas, you have the option to live on campus if you want to. You are not required to. If you are coming from outside of Las Vegas, you are required to spend your first year here. So as you can see on here, the cost per semester is around $5,500. That is for both your room and your meal plan. The cost does vary. It depends on the type of room that you choose, the dorm that you choose, and the meal plan that you end up selecting as well. For the housing grant, so if you are from Clark County and you are interested in living on campus, if after you fill out the FAFSA, you are eligible for the Pell Grant, which is a need-based federal grant. The housing department does have a grant that they also have for students who meet those need-based criteria, and they give you $4,000 off of your housing costs each year. So if you're someone who's interested in living on campus, even though it is still, a bit costly, that is a big help as well for anybody who wants to live on campus. And pretty much any scholarships. So for example, any scholarships that I'll talk about in a little bit, but if you have extra money that already covered your tuition and extra money lying around from your scholarships, you can choose to use that for your housing, or if you don't want to live on campus, if you're from Las Vegas, you don't have to. Okay, so now we're getting into the admissions criteria and scholarships. So for the admissions criteria for incoming first year students, you just need to meet one of these four requirements that you see on your screen. So you either have to have a 3.0 weighted core GPA. So your core GPA is based off of 14 core units. It's your 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 3 years of science, and 3 years of social studies. And of course, if you took an AP or an honors class that are weighted GPA. So either you need that, or if you have that, you took ACT or the SAT already. If you got an 1120 on the SAT, we can admit you. Got 22 on the SAT, we can admit you. So it's pretty much either or. If you've already graduated and graduated with an advanced diploma, take that for admission. If you're an incoming transfer student, we have pretty simple requirements in that sense. So you just need to have a 2.5 GPA in transferable college credits. So we do require 24 credits to transfer in if you're just looking for college transfer. If you have less than 20 college credits to transfer in, that will ask for your high school transcripts and or recent test scores to help with the admissions process. All right, so in terms of tuition, this is just the ticket price, right? This doesn't take into consideration scholarships or aid or anything like that. So about 15 hours per semester for both semesters. It's around $8,600 per year if you're from the state of Nevada. If you're coming from outside of Nevada, it's about $4,000 per year. All right, so for incoming first year, these scholarships are available for anybody who needs by the priority deadline of November 1. So November 1 is a date that I'm going to be mentioning a lot just because it is super, super, super important to meet that deadline, to apply by then, to submit everything that you need by if you're looking to apply for merit scholarships or need-based scholarships that I'll talk about in a little bit. So please, these are merit-based scholarships and on high school and your ACT or SAT scores. Either one works. If you took both, that's fine. You'll take the highest score of the two. If you only took the ACT or if you only took the SAT, but you took it multiple times, we'll take the highest composites. We don't super score, unfortunately, for these trips, but we will take the highest score. So with your GPA, if you're currently a senior, you already know what your GPA is right now because our deadline is before the first semester even ends. The GPA is going to be the one that you ended either or if you took summer courses, the GPA you ended with summer. You can see level student scholarship. This blank space over here doesn't count for anything, unfortunately. And then it's pretty explanatory, but you need both the GPA and the ACT and have it match up to a scholarship on here. If you are considered a valedictorian, you are eligible for a $1,000 scholarship on top of anything else that you may receive. And by the way, all of our scholarships, no matter if you're a freshman or a transfer student, all of our scholarships are stackable. Whether you get a lot of scholarships from us, from UNLV, we have a lot of external scholarships as well. You're able to see all of them with us. So again, valedictorian scholarship is an additional $1,000. And the scholarship is national finalist. That is just a lump sum total of $10,000 per year. And they are actually all renewable as well. But again, you can only qualify for these as an incoming first year student who's not taking college classes outside of high school. So if you're taking college classes while you're still in high school, that's perfectly fine. For scholarship purposes, you'll consider it a freshman. That's totally fine. If you took college classes after you graduated high school, if you've already graduated high school, you are going to be considered a transfer student and are no longer eligible for freshmen. So please keep that in mind as applying for schools this year. And again, these are first come, first serve. Unfortunately, we have limited funding for these scholarships. So the earlier you apply, the earlier you submit your FAFSA, the better your chances are of being awarded these scholarships that you may meet. And then our application is actually open an application. And again, FAFSA is required to be considered to be scored, not going to be anything from financial aid. You still need to submit it as part of the requirements to be considered scholarships. All right, so for the Millennium Scholarship, this is just for Nevada students. So for Nevada students, this goes up to $2,400 per year at UNLV. It's $80 per credit, so if you're taking 15 credits, that's where it adds up to $2,400 and it maxes out at $2,400 per year. So if you're getting Millennium and the Millennium alone, this is what your tuition is going to be. Again, just the Millennium. So if you get anything else from FAFSA or any other scholarships or grants or anything like that, of course, that just gets discounted from this annual number. So for Tuition Plus, This is a need-based grant that you also need to meet the priority deadline by November 1. So in order to qualify for consideration for this one, you have to be admitted to UNLV and you have to submit your FAFSA to UNLV before November 1. Again, the earlier the better. FAFSA opens up on October 1. So if you can submit it on October 1, that's great, especially if you've already applied. So I always recommend apply first, submit your FAFSA once it opens up. That way, that's the last thing that you need to do. For Tuition Plus, there's no requirements apart from just being admitted to UNLV. So we don't have any GPA requirements or test score requirements. You just have to be admitted, early enough to meet the priority deadline. And again, this also has limited funding, so the earlier you apply, the better. And it can be renewable each year. You just have to submit the FAFSA early every single year. Oh, and I forgot to mention, sorry, this covers the cost of your tuition after the Pell Grant. So if you qualify for the Pell Grant, this will cover the remaining costs up to 12 credits. If you aren't eligible for the FAFSA, you can fill out the alternate need form through UNLV. Essentially, it's similar consideration, but it uses university funds instead of federal funds. So essentially, as long as you're a need-based student who qualifies for need-based aid, you qualify for Tuition Plus if you apply early enough. All right, so for the Western Undergraduate Exchange Scholarship, this is for my out-of-state students who are coming from the states shaded in red, obviously not Nevada. This one can go up to $12,015 each year, which cuts your tuition off in pretty much half. Of course, this doesn't include housing, so please keep that in mind, but this is what your tuition is, just taking the scholarship into consideration. So again, if you have anything else like that, scholarships, any other scholarships or grants, just gets discounted from this as well. And this number is based off of 15 credits per semester. We don't have a lot of time to go over all of the details about these scholarships, but you can look up all of this on our website. If you just type in Western Undergraduate Exchange Scholarship in the search bar, you'll be able to find the page. Oh, and also these don't have a priority deadline. These you just have to be admitted to UNLV. That's it. You just have to meet the application deadline and you can be considered for this as long as you meet the requirements that are on our website. So that's pretty much it. There's no early deadline or anything like that. You just have to, you'll be automatically essentially with your application. Same thing for this scholarship. You'll be automatically considered as long as you're admitted to UNLV. And this is for the shaded in red and international students as well. So this one works a little bit differently than the Western Undergraduate Exchange Scholarship. This one is more tier-based. It depends completely on your GPA. Essentially, the higher your GPA, the more money you'll get. So it maxes out at $11,000 that you can get, which also cuts your tuition off in almost half as well. And again, based off of 15 credit hours per semester, there are different requirements for both first-year students and transfer students, but are eligible for these regional scholarships. All right. So for FAFSA opens up, as I mentioned, on October 1st. You definitely want to make sure to submit it as early as you can if you are looking to meet our merit-based scholarships or our need-based scholarships as well. So definitely make sure to submit as early as you possibly can. I know the first day, usually there's some sort of issues with the website, but just submit it again as early as you can when it opens up if you're looking to meet those scholarships, just to make sure that you give yourself the best chance. All right, so for application deadlines, and we're almost done here as well. So for application deadlines, we have freshmen. November 1 is the priority consideration, again, for financial aid and scholarships and anything else like that. And then May 1 is the application deadline. So this is the last day that you'll be able to submit your application, which for most of you is before you even finish your senior year. So please keep that in mind as you're applying, making your decisions. For transfer students, you have February 1st priority consideration for financial aid and scholarships. And by the way, I forgot, these priority deadlines are for fall semester, students who start in the fall semester. And then August 1st is the application deadline for transfer students for the fall semester as well. And then January 1st is for those who are interested in being admitted for the spring semester. And then going back, because I did forget to mention one thing, for these regional scholarships, these are only for eligible students who are joining us for a fall semester. It doesn't matter which fall semester, but it has to be a fall semester. You can't be considered for these for spring or summer or anything like that. So just fall. All right, so this is the end of the presentation. I have just one more thing to talk about, but if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box, and I'd be more than happy to address those. You can either ask me as an admission counselor again, or Eduardo as a student, a current student. So since we're not having any in-person events this semester, we have been really, really active on our social media. So you can see our handle there for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We've been, I think, mostly active on Instagram just because we post your stories every single day. We have students, current students, take over our Instagram sometimes as well with Q&A sessions, sometimes live sessions. And we also have a lot of IGTV episodes. They're very short. They're like 4 or 5 minutes long sometimes. There's some about, touring campus. There's some that have to do with specific colleges on campus, like engineering, for example, and a ton of other content as well that we're continuing to put out on pretty much a weekly basis. So definitely make sure to check that out. And also, if you're interested in just signing up for more virtual events, that link that you see on your screen takes you directly to our calendar of events for the month of August. And then you can also scroll through the future months as well and sign up for any event on there just by clicking on it too. And there's a lot of different information events as well. So this is, of course, just admissions, but some of the colleges have their own information events as well. Okay, so that is the end of the presentation. As you can see here, this has a link to our admissions website on the UNLV page. And if you're interested in contacting your admission counselor directly, that's what this link is for as well. Since our main admissions phone number, we're all working remotely, so it's not picking up. You have to call one of our admission counselors directly. So please keep that in mind. And also, if you have any questions at all, you can contact us through our general admissions email as well. Okay, so if you were enrolled into an in-person class, I'm guessing you're coming in for fall semester. So if you're coming in for fall semester, you were enrolled in in-person class and you want to switch to an online class, you definitely have the opportunity to do so. You just have to log on to your My UNLV account, which is your student portal for any incoming students. So your My UNLV account, you have the enrollment tile. The enrollment tile is where you can swap classes if there's one available. So you can just search the class that you're enrolled in person right now and see if there's an option, like a remote learning option or a web-based option, and just enroll yourself into that as well. So you're definitely able to do that through your My UNLV account, right? Any other questions? Or if you need me to go back to a certain slide or go into depth about anything else that was on here, let me know.